started filming all this yesterday, and I ended up just go ahead and throwing all that footage out, and I'll explain why as I'm tearing this back apart. So, basically the reason I did is because I kind of fumbled through what I was doing here. I really didn't know what exactly I was doing and how to go about doing it. So I figured I'd kind of save you guys the details of that. But what I will do today is walk you through what I did yesterday. So, as you probably figured out by what I named this video, this is the control box for my spreader. And as long as this works, I will only have like 180 bucks into it. I know the last video that I did pertaining to this came out to 190 after tax. This one came out to about 189 after tax because I found a coupon, and it's all the same stuff that I showed in that video. So let me work on taking this apart, and I'll go over everything with you. Okay, everybody, so this box is aluminum, by the way, if anybody's wondering. Alright, so here's what's going on here. I don't know how complicated this will look to any of you guys, but it's really pretty simple. So this is a 60 amp speed controller, which is what I showed you guys in the last video. Came with a little digital display on it, which was pretty cool. And the potentiometer. If you hear that click, that'll actually shut this off, which I did not know, but that's okay, and that's why I put this switch here. Now, typically when you're salting, you don't mess with this much, so I probably will never use that to shut this off. So, like, say that's, I don't know, level 2, and I want to set it there. Right now, my switch is on. That would shut it off. And that's perfect, because then when I flick it on, the spreader's going level 2. I don't have to readjust it. But, alright, now I've got all this extra wire here, and it's kind of in my way. It's hanging off the desk and making it really hard to work. So I'm going to put this stuff over here for right now, and hopefully it doesn't make too big of a mess for you guys. So, what I'm going to show you, though, so this will be the power out, and this will be power in. And I have it wired up, and it looks like a little bit of a mess right now. It won't be so bad once I get it kind of organized and in the truck. I'm having a little bit of issue with the butt connectors not being quite big enough. But this is 8 gauge wire, and I have it on a 40 amp relay, which, like I explained before, or at least I think I explained, this is essentially an electronic switch. So you have your power that comes in, and you put this in the middle to break the circuit. Then you have to, ground this somewhere, or run your switch to it, and then this will be the ground. You ground so what I did anyway was I ran this wire obviously to my switch, and I'll zip tie this up and it'll be all nice and neat when I'm done. And then obviously I just grounded. This is going to go out to the battery, so it doesn't really matter. That can be a ground. It doesn't matter that I just did that. I'm also going to use that one more time, and I'll show you what I'm going to do in a minute here. But that's how I did that. This little switch here is a reverser for the motor, and I'm just going to go ahead and tuck that down in there so it doesn't accidentally get bumped. I was going to unplug that. I don't know if this thing will work properly without that in there because, because sometimes that's how they design stuff. So I don't know exactly how that's going to work out. But what I did here, and I need to get some glue, but it was held in pretty good. I took a combination of my little Dremel down here, I took this with a cutoff wheel on it, and forgive that dog hair, but I took this with a cutoff wheel, and I cut this, and then I took my little file kit that I bought, and I just worked at that until this fit how I wanted it. And then you see these decimal points, they're going to go in like so. And then this piece fastens down and pinches on that a little bit. And it holds it in there perfectly tight. So the reason I'm tearing this back apart, other than to show you how I built this like inside area here, is I'm going to add in this little LED. The reason I'm going to add in this little LED is because I'm going to put it in line with this circuit breaker here that I'm going to put in. They'll be here on Wednesday, I think, and I don't have them. That's why I'm not out there putting this in the truck today. That, and it's not even quite 30 degrees. But anyway, all that aside, we're going to put this in, and I'll explain why I'm doing that as I'm going. So, first things first, we're going to have to take this little nut off and figure out what size I need to drill this hole. And this little washer too. Now, my step bit's getting a little bit dull, but that's what I use for this because it's great. You can drill right up to, I think this one goes up to 1 1/8 maybe. Yep, or 1 1/8 is as big as this one goes. So I'm thinking second step. Yep, second step probably, and that's actually a little bit small, so I'll go a little bit further yet and go pretty much this third step almost. So let me go ahead and drill that. Alright, we're gonna do something slightly different here because that's dull. Now I have to clean up these chips later. But not the end of the world. Okay, so what I did there was I drilled most of the way through that. I don't want to get it too big. So I'm going to see how this fits, but I'm going to take out the rest of that with a file. Yep, so I need to open that up a little bit more with a file. The other thing, the reason I stopped, and yeah, you can drill the hole too big, that's fine, but sometimes in this situation, less is more. If I felt like taking it back apart, I could drill back through here a little bit with the chamfered, and then I'd have less to work with. But I don't feel like messing with that today. Okay, so we'll pull this guy back through here again. A little bit of trial and error in this part, but not too bad. Alright, so that's perfect. And it even worked out that I went just a little bit too big because it recessed it just a touch. It's perfect. So we'll put my file back away here. These little files are great for little projects like this. Obviously, that's why I bought them. So then you put your little lock washer on there, if you can even call it that. And then pay attention to which way your nut goes. There's a rounded side and kind of a more square side. I always put the square side down. To be totally honest, I'm not sure if it matters, and if it does, somebody feel free to explain it to me. But for this application, all it's doing is holding an LED light in, so. Like I said, don't see it really being an issue. Alright, then we'll take these. Okay. It's nice and tight, not going anywhere. Okay, now, something you need to be very cautious of, and actually I'm going to do this just a little bit different. But what you need to be cautious of when you're wiring an LED, there are a few. I've never really used one, but LEDs, it stands for light emitting diode. Now, I'm not exactly, super well versed in electronics here, but I do know a diode is an electrical check valve, essentially. So that's the way it was explained to me. And basically what that means is that only lets electric flow one way, if you know how a check valve works. So what we're going to do is I'll pull this guy back out, and we're going to cut this back again because I forgot to do this yesterday. We're going to use this instead. I like this a little bit better for stripping wire. And then we'll go a little bit more. Okay. So, get that all twisted up like so. And then we do the same thing with this guy. Get a little bit more off of that one. Beautiful. And now we'll take one of these little fellas. And what I like to do in this case is I'll split this wire in half. And then I'll put this one in like so. We'll get it right about there. And I'll fold that through. And then I hold these and I'll twist that all together. And now that wire is braided into that. And you gotta be, well, it's not braided in that great, but let me redo that because that's just not exactly as good as I wanted it to be. Ideally, this would be soldered, but I, at the moment, don't remember where I put my solder. And, this isn't really, it's not going to matter. This is all going to be in the truck, so what I'll do is I'll twist this guy around like that, and then these two will get twisted like that. Alright, now that's in there pretty decent. Then we'll go ahead and put this guy on and twist this the same way. That just helps it seat in here a little bit better. Make sure you're seated in real good. And there's a specific way you crimp these. You don't have to. I mean, they're not going to fail if you don't do them exactly the right way. But look, I always look for the crimp line. And that'll kind of like take it and fold the two down in and bite it. Now we'll heat shrink that. Obviously being careful not to catch anything on fire and melt wires here. A heat gun would be the best option. But if you're careful, a torch works just fine. And basically, these, you shrink them until they start to get clear. Like, I don't know if you guys will pick it up on the camera there or not. But you can kind of see the clear color difference in that. And then you see glue starting to kind of squeeze out there. So what I'm going to do, because I'm impatient, is we're going to take this and there we go. That cools it right back down a little bit. Still hot, but it's manageable. Now we have to give this guy a little bit of a pinch because these are just a touch skinny. And then you put it, tuck that right in here. We'll just go ahead and bend that one up out of the way, just so it fits in there nice and tight. Okay, now, well, I should have brought red wire in here, but I didn't. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and take a piece of yellow wire, and we'll cut this off. There's no signs to this, what I'm gonna do. We'll put that back in my bag, and we'll strip the end of this off. And we'll strip this one back a little bit further here. And then we'll take one of these butt connectors. Okay, so now the whole point of that system here, this is the outside of the power wire. So we'll put my circuit breaker in there. And if it trips for whatever reason, this little light goes out. And then I know that my spreader's not working. So, that's pretty much where I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I'm going to put that in the truck. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. I'll put this on, and I'll tie these together with a bolt for now, just to make sure it works. I'm not going to be putting any big load on it. So, I'll get this all mocked into the truck and wired up and put a bolt in there just for now. Like I said, I have the circuit breakers coming. They're on their way. Just won't be here till Wednesday sometime. And I can throw it in on Wednesday. But then I'll give this thing a test, see if it works. I'll have to put the mount in. I made up some brackets for that. Of course, temporary. So it'll work out pretty good, I think. But anyway, I'll show you what that looks like when I get to that. Okay guys, so it's not mounted yet. I need to figure that out, and I also have to wire in a cigarette lighter. I took this piece off because I'm going to figure out exactly what needs to happen. But this is going to get mounted in there roughly like so. And then it'll be nice and neat. So, one thing that I will say about this, well, hold on, my key's gotta be on. I gotta have this thing on 100 to really get it to spin worth anything, really. And, yeah, it's spinning. See, I'm on 100 right now. And she's a ripping. It might free up with some time. And actually, if I was a smart man, which I'll do later, should have greased those bearings. But what we're gonna do right now is, I'm not gonna do a whole lot. I'm gonna just test it here. I'm gonna take a little bit of that bulk salt, throw it right in there. So we're gonna use this because that thing's up there real high. And that one's gonna hold more than a couple shovelfuls. So I'm just gonna take a little bit. And that's all I'm really planning on. Trusty little blue. So how you do this if you don't have something real wide is come over here, make sure I don't have any extra in here. go over like that. And then, I don't know if you guys make that out. Looks like you probably can. But I have just a quarter of the bucket there. Now, because I'm stupid and put this in here, you go in reverse or second gear here. I don't have a whole lot of extra room to maneuver. So we're gonna come over and we'll squeeze it back in that corner once. That way I'm not dumping salt all over the place. Normally I'm gonna run like bag salt in this, but this is what I've got to work with, so at least for a test anyway. So we're gonna just go ahead and bring it in here. Sorry about the camera motion, I'm trying to run this loader. Oh yeah, right on the bed, that's how you do it. Alright, next. And we'll go ahead, I'll salt the parking lot here or something. There we go, we're half full. Yeah, see what happens to get all that salt around there? And that's why we're not going to be using bulk salt. Something beautiful about it is it should work out pretty good, and I should be able to run like calcium chloride, things like that. Stuff that's less harsh. So we're gonna, let me go ahead and clean this up a little bit. But, well, the good news is that's on there and good and tight. Yeah, we're gonna have to definitely be easy. Now I should have a cover for this, and I gotta find one. But yeah, this should do the job. Yeah, we're pretty well full actually, so. And hopefully there's enough amperage coming through here, because if not, this ain't gonna be fun to take that off. So we're gonna, my key's on, we're gonna fire that baby up. Crank it right up to, well, it's at 78% right now. So we'll let some of this out. Well, that's a little lackluster with that controller, I'd say. It's not getting hot. I'll be honest, I'm not really, I don't know, I'm not happy with that. That's open all the way. And that is too, I guess, so. I don't know, I mean, there we go, it's starting to throw better. Yep, we're on 71 and it's creeping up. There we go. Okay, so fire it up here. Then we're gonna go throw some salt. So I gotta clean this truck out pretty bad. We're gonna go ahead and come on over here. And we'll throw some salt here. Oh yeah, it's working pretty good actually. with you. So let me go down here and we'll throw it on one of these roads. Yep, nobody's coming, so we're good to go. Like I said, a little bit of grease will probably go a long way on this too. As I use it, it may free up. This thing's, it's been sitting in a barn for I don't know how long. I think Josh said he had it like 4 or 5 years. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and flick this on. We're throwing at 76%. We'll speed this up. You know, I'll be honest, I'm not really happy with that much. There we go. If we get it up 90% or so, it throws pretty good, it looks like. We're gonna go ahead and scrape off some of this slush, if it'll come up. Some of it is, but I'm running the rubber edge on this plow too, so. It's working. We'll crank that thing up to 100 and see where that gets us. 100's really throwing that salt. It's throwing it pretty straight. I think what my problem is I need to choke it down. Or I have it choked real far down so I don't get a big wide spray. Yeah, because we'll turn around here. And actually I'm going to back down that road there. I don't know. I'm sorry about how you guys can see this because I don't have it magneted. I don't have it set up on something metal to stick it fast, so. Now something I can always definitely for sure remember is that this truck, if you're gonna run like you know, calcium chloride or something finer, and Western actually recommends that you don't run bulk salt in this because it's big and bulky and it's just not made for that. Yeah, it runs it. That's what I'm running now. But regardless, Western recommends that you don't run bulk salt. So if you run like bagged salt like they recommend, which honestly is easiest anyway. And actually, I'm going to get out here quick. Give me a second. Now we're back. Plow back up and we'll crank this back up and see where we're at. It's actually working pretty good. You gotta find that right speed that works for you. Like, I don't know how these plow controllers do it. And that's what I was worried about with this system. To be totally fair, I was worried that it was going to not work right because, you know, just because of the way of a plow, you know, a plow controller being set up. But, like, if you look, that's all salt out there on the road. So it's definitely working right. But anyway, I'm actually pretty happy with how that's working. So like I said, once I get some grease pumped into it, it'll honestly probably help out a lot. But I can see it back there well because I can't run it with a tailgate. like how much is in there. Looks like I'm getting pretty close to empty. But so that mount back there, that's called a trundle mount. And it's made, I guess, to go in the bed of a dump truck or a pickup bed. It's a pretty simple mount. Being that this truck is kind of old for doing stuff like that, that was kind of my only option, which is fine. I like that option best. Other than that being a pain in the butt, I mean, now I can't use the truck. I have to take that out. Now, all that said though, they're supposed to, I had to do some modification because I only got half the parts I needed to make it work the right way. So again, all that said, even, it comes with a rail similar to like what you would get with a gooseneck setup, a fifth wheel type rail system, and you pin it down to that and you bolt it fast to your frame. I made brackets about that long, like 12 inches I think. Put a nut in the middle and just ran a bolt down through temporarily because, again, I have that flatbed for this, or not the flatbed, the dump insert. So I'm gonna want to weld those brackets fast to the dump insert on the bottom end, and then it shouldn't be an issue. Okay, boys and girls, so today is the day after yesterday, which is the day that you saw me test that. So I brought this home and ended up doing running out with my buddy to get a coal stove that I found for free. So he's into them things, so I sent it to him and he said, let's go get it now. So last night, that's what I did. So obviously I got some like figuring out to do here. I got to figure out, you know, what I need to do for testing. But again, I'm supposed to run bag salt in here. But okay, so let me show you what I did to wrap it up inside the cab, and we'll talk about the things that I probably would have done different. Okay, so that's how I mounted it. This isn't a permanent thing for right now. That's a zip tie. I had to notch this out, get the wires up in there nice and tight, and then you won't see this, but I had to notch out my trim bezel here. If this was a nice truck, wouldn't have done that. And then just for quick, I'm gonna throw this back on. That's obviously not perfect. Don't ever do that. I'm gonna do it, but well, it depends if we get snow before I get what I need to fix that. So we're gonna get on to the part of what I'd have done different. All right, so this is well, first off, I wanted to dump bulk salt all over the bed. Okay, so shorter bolts, but I'll explain what's going on with this whole setup in a little bit. What I would have done different with the building of this harness, and I still may do it. Obviously it has this tail light. I don't really need that. Simple enough to fix if I do though. Somewhere in this harness, oh, right there. So I'm not sure how that's supposed to work. I assume that's supposed to work as like a third brake light or something. So it may be a marker, I don't really know. I don't really see a reason for that, but so I could do a couple things. If that comes, basically if that's supposed to come on, you could tie that into here so anytime this is running, it works. It's on a separate little pin for the actual plug. So you could run a secondary wire. You could tap it in off this. Actually, what I was thinking about doing is tapping in to my 4-way here and running it off that. But on the other side, I don't really need it. This truck doesn't go very far. If I'm gonna go very far, this all has to come off the bed anyway. But so that's what I would have done different, if anything. I don't really need reverse lights, I don't think, because I have them mounted right there. So if that all works out right. It won't, you know, I could see, but I'll have to figure that out at night. This mount, like I said, I think yesterday, that's my only real option. They don't make a mount for this truck without doing some stupid fabrication and stuff. Didn't want to do it. Okay, so let me get to this. I basically just made this work with what was on hand. These bolts are way too long, so I stuffed these washers in here. And I made, I don't know how well you can see, but those little brackets. I know I explained this, they're 12 inches wide, so that'll take this, and it'll, you know, it comes over to about there, a little bit further than I can reach. But that pulls up on a wide area. And because you're actually supposed to tie this mount into the truck frame, but these are wide like that so they could tie in, and that way whenever you get this thing loaded up good and heavy with salt, it's pulling up on, like, well, between the two there's 20 inches I think is how much they are. I think they're 10 each, 10 and a half each, so 21 inches. So that should help. But whenever I go get my dump insert this spring, which I should have done last spring, or even sometime this summer, but this truck sat because I put a transmission in and did a bunch of work to it. But anyway, I'm going to weld those brackets I made to the underside of the bed, and then I'll go find out what bolts these are in a shorter length, and I'll just bolt it right fast to the bed. And then what I may do is make it so I could screw those in and then put a pin through here, so I don't have to run this thing with the trundle mount on it all the time. That's gonna eliminate my tailgate anyway. So the only other thing maybe I'll do, and it depends if it's gonna become a problem, I'm gonna have to make that a lower mount somehow, because that dump insert is gonna come up probably about here would be the floor, I'd guess. So that's going to bring this whole thing up another 4 or 5 inches, something like that. So what I may do in that case, I'm either going to figure out how to lower that mount, which wouldn't really be that hard. I could cut this here and here, move everything down, and run a bracket in there. That would be no big deal. I can't really do anything with this. This is what it is. The only other thing, give me 1 second. The only other thing I could do, or will do, is I'm gonna get it like a mud flap and hang it back in here, so any salt that does kind of work its way back that way hits the mud flap and goes down. But anyway, that's pretty much that. Hopefully we get to use it. It's still a little bit stiff, but it does work good. So it may need to take the motor off. There may be a little bit of rust or something in there, just kind of slowing it down. It's a little bit stiff, I think. Again, I don't really know. I went down and I was helping the buddy last night, actually, is the one where I got this. And he said he had it for 4 or 5 years, and he never used it. Somebody gave it to him. Anyway, that's going to pretty much wrap us up right here. So I'm going to head in there and, well, first I'm going to check who just called me. Second, I'm going to head in there and edit this video. So if you guys like it, you want to see it in action, like, comment, and subscribe. Hopefully I get to put this thing to use one more time this year. We might get snow tonight, so I guess we're going to see where that brings us in the morning. But all right, I'll catch you guys later.